Today we will be learning about sort method in JavaScript. Also we will compare sort and toSorted methods, and I will explain you why you shouldn't use the sort method in JavaScript. So at first, let's learn how sort method works. So for that, I create a simple array numbers, and then I log to the console the numbers.sort. If we save the result, you will see that you have 1, 2, 2, and 3. You have an array of sorted numbers, and they are sorted in the ascending order, so it means that the first element is the smallest and the last element is the largest. So you might think that it sorts them in the right way, but let's add one more number. And now you see that if we have the number 10, it goes right after the number 1. But we would expect it to be in the end of this array. And this is because the default sort method converts an entire array of elements into the strings, and then it looks to each character inside of this array. So the first element is 1, but this is string, and then it uses the Unicode table that contains many characters, symbols, and numbers. But the problem with the number 10 is that this is a number. This is not just a one digit, so the Unicode table doesn't contain this value, and eventually sort function just takes the first digit, which is 1, and then it can find it in the Unicode table, so it uses the same value as for the number 1. So it means that no matter how many digits are after the 1, for example, we have this large number, the sort method will anyway put it right after the 1. So for the sort method, these two numbers are the same. But we don't want to sort the numbers as strings. We want to sort them based on their mathematical value. And for that, the sort method has one parameter, which is a function. So we can write the base for anonymous function, and then inside of the parentheses, we can write two values. So typically there are a and b, and then we can write on the same line. So in this case, we don't even need parentheses. So I write the construction a minus b, and then in the console we can see that now our numbers are sorted correctly. So basically sort function works in the same way as map, filter, or reduce. So it goes through each element from the array. Just this time, instead of one parameter, it takes two at one iteration. So it means that in the first iteration we will have values 1 and 2, then we will have values 2 and 3, then 3 and 2, and in the final iteration we will have 2 and 10. Then based on the result, the sort method understands which number is smaller and which number is larger, and then it puts them in the right order. We will not talk a lot how it works under the hood, just you need to understand that you can use this construction for sorting numbers in the ascending order. If you want to sort them in the descending order, you can change the numbers. So right now from the number b, we subtract the number a, and then in the console you see that the first number is the largest and the last number is the smallest. Now let's talk about the string sorting. So now I have an array of strings, and then let's log to the console the strings.sort. In the console we see that our strings have been sorted alphabetically, and you see that their order is the ascending. So here we are working with strings, so it means that the sort method doesn't convert them into the array of strings, and then it takes each character from this array and compare them to the Unicode value. In the Unicode table, characters are sorted alphabetically, and this is the reason why the sort function also sorts them alphabetically. But now we have only single characters. Let's write words. So when I have words, it compares them in the same way. So it takes the first character of each word. So this is the reason why our words are also sorted alphabetically. But then if we have two words that are starting from the same letter, like banana and beer, in this case, the sort function takes the second character and compares based on the second character. So we see that the second character of banana is A, which is the first character of the alphabet. And this is the reason why this word comes before the word beer. But this order is ascending, so let's try to make the descending order. For that we need to pass one function. But on this time, we can't write b minus a because b is a string and a is also a string, and we just don't have this operation like minus between two strings. If you save this sort function, you will not see any errors, but the order of the initial string will not be changed. To make the comparison between strings, we have a separate method, local compare. And now you can see in the console that we have sorted our array of strings in the descending order. So all what you need to know about the local compare is just that this is a helper method that helps two strings to be compared to each other. And then we can use the return result of this function for sorting our array of strings. Now let's compare two methods, sort and toSorted. I again use a small array of numbers and then I sort this array by using the sort method. Now in the console you see that our numbers are sorted in the ascending order. Now I call the toSorted method on the same array numbers, and from the first point of view we don't see any changes. Actually, if you hover over each function and then read the description of them, you will see that they are very similar, and the only one thing that they are different is that the sort method mutates the array and returns a reference to the same array. So now I comment out the log with toSorted method, so let's clarify what it means. Now I changed our array numbers, so it will be easier to visually see the difference. Then I log to the console the numbers, and this is the first log that we see. So this array contains the same numbers, so the order of these numbers is the same as I wrote. And then I log to the console the numbers.sort, and now you see that this line 4 returns a new array with numbers 1, 3, 8 and 9. So from the first point of view, seems that everything works correctly and this is a new array. But actually, let's expand the first array, and now it might be a little bit confusing why we see two different orders. If our array is collapsed, we see the order 1, 8, 3 and 9, but when we expand it, you see the order 1, 3, 8 and 9. And this is because the collapsed version shows the snapshot of the array at this point. At the line number 3, the state of our array had this order, but then on the line number 4, we changed the state of this array, so now the order of elements is different. But because the sort function doesn't return a new array, so it doesn't copy the array, it just mutates the array, we actually mutated our variable numbers, and when you expand your log, you see the actual state of your array after the running code. So, and now what we see is that the final state of the array is different from the state that was logged on the line number 3. And it might be a huge problem for beginners to actually debug this kind of behavior, because from the first point of view, we don't see all the necessary details. So now let's see how toSorted method works. From the first point of view, everything seems the same. But now let's expand the first array, and now you see that the state of the snapshot and the actual state are actually the same. So let's also expand the second log, and now you see that for the second log, this is also true. So the state of this array is the same as on the snapshot. So now let's hover over toSorted method. Now you can see that the description is the same, but this is the crucial line. So this method returns a copy of an array with its elemented sorted. So it means that instead of mutating the initial array, this function actually clones the array and then mutates a new array. So and finally, let's solve one code challenge where we will actually use this knowledge on practice. So at first you have an array of cars. So this array has several cars, and each car is a separate object that has brand, year and price. And then your first task is to sort this array by year in the descending order. And after that, takes the initial array cars and sort it by the brand in the descending order. And also one important constraint that you should log to the console a new array, so the original array shouldn't be mutated, and eventually we'll have two logs with two differently sorted arrays. Now try solving this challenge yourself, but right now let's solve it together. So at first, let's sort this array by year. So I start from the method toSorted because it makes a copy, it doesn't mutate the original data, and then inside of it, let's pass anonymous function. So then we need to understand what are the A and B. In the first iteration, the A parameter is the first car from our array, and then the B parameter is the second car from our array. So both these cars are objects, and it means that if I write A and then I put dot, I will see three parameters: brand, price and year. Now let's choose the year. So this is a number, so it means that we can subtract the second number. And now this method will return us a new array, so let's declare it into a separate variable. And now let's log to the console this variable. Now in the console I see an array of objects, so let's expand it. And here I see that our cars are sorted by the year. So the first car has the youngest year and the last car has the oldest year. But we also need to write them in the descending order, so let's change the B and A. So the first car is the youngest one and the last car is the oldest one. Let's also log to the console the cars array to see that we have not modified it. So now I can see that the second log shows the initial cars and they are in the same order that we wrote them into the array cars. Now let's think about the second part. So we need to sort the initial array by brand and also in the descending order. So the beginning will be very similar. I use the toSorted array and then I have two parameters A and B. Now let's use the property brand. And this is a string. So it means that we can't compare it by using the minus sign. We need to use the local compare method. And now let's also extract it into a separate variable and then let's log it to the console. Now I can see that our cars are sorted by the brand in the descending order. So for example, the car Audi starts from the letter A and it means that in the descending order, it should be the last car. Also, let's log to the console the initial array. So here we can see that the initial array have not been modified and now it means that we have solved this challenge. Now I hope that you understand the difference between sort and toSorted methods, and also you can use these methods for sorting our arrays of numbers, strings or objects. So thanks for watching.